This is the Carrie from Riese and Muller, and for 1 week, this was my everyday bike. I've been cargo curious for a long time. I've ridden them in the past at trade shows, but never for an extended period. So when I found out there was a shop specializing in them nearby, I reached out to see if I could borrow one for the week to replace my regular bike. That shop is Bishop's Family Cycles. Offering a plethora of practical pedal-powered products, they've been shifting the way people get around in Victoria since 2021 and are now hoping to do the same in Vancouver's Kitsilano neighborhood.
So my name's Robert Kemp. I'm one of the owners. My wife and I own Bishop's Family Cycles together. We named it Bishop's because that was my son. So that was the child who kind of inspired this because he was my youngest at the time. And wanting to be home with him was part of that drive because I was still not missing milestones yet. So we had this idea. We were in love with cargo bikes. We started talking about maybe we could do it. My partner especially wanted to focus on family accessories as well because you go into a bike shop and you ask about babies and you get like kind of cricket stares, you know what I mean? And so for her, that was always a really big pain point. So we kind of had this vision of like cargo bikes, family accessories, this thing that became really challenging for us as a family. And so we kind of went for it. It's been better than we could have expected.
Cargo bikes are a strong indicator of a healthy cycling culture, helping people, especially families, find a better way to move around their city. Popping up in the early 20th century, the first cargo bikes looked something like this: 3 wheels and a wooden box. Today, they are typically electrically assisted with a lightweight, impact-resistant polypropylene box. They can be spotted around Vancouver, but nowhere near as often as in places like the Netherlands or even Victoria, a city where Bishop's has played a role in that shift. They carry a wide range of cargo bikes, so let's cover the basics.
You have Longtails that look a lot like a regular bike with just a heavy-duty rack on the back. And the idea is it's like your regular bike with more rack space. And Longtails can be great. You know, Longtails, when they're empty, they ride like your regular bike and you have the opportunity to put extra stuff on them. We always tell people the downside of Longtails though is just like your regular bike, as they get heavier, sometimes they get weirder to ride. And so people, you know, see someone riding around town with 2 kids in the back and they go, oh, that looks great. And then they go test ride one of these things empty and they're like, this is gonna be awesome. And then they put their 2 kids on it and they go, this is terrible. And it's because the ride of the bike just gets a bit funny. And sometimes that funniness is just too much for someone to want to do. Longtails, we usually tell people, are best if they're gonna be empty 80% of the time. So short commute with stuff, long commute without, Longtails are rad at that. Box bikes are a little bit different. Bakfiets is directly translated to box bike. So we just call them box bikes in general. They have a box on the front and they're built in the opposite way. They're not meant to look like a bike or act like your bike. They're meant to act like your bike with cargo. And so they've been designed very specifically to take lots of weight and be able to handle it appropriately.
The Carrie from Riese and Muller is a box bike, but is a much more manageable size than you might expect.
People look at them and they go, that is huge. But when you put a traditional 28-inch wheeled bicycle next to a cargo bike, you're really going to be surprised at how small cargo bikes actually are.
With 20-inch wheels in the front and back, it's only slightly longer than my 28-inch wheeled commuter. Paired with the folding stem and lockable folding box on the front, makes for a more versatile bike that is easier to store than your typical box bike. It's got integrated lights, hefty disc brakes, rain cover, cafe chain lock, 5-speed internal gear hub, powerful Bosch mid-drive, a battery to get you up to 80 kilometers on a charge, and most importantly, a hauling capacity of over 100 kilograms. I could get into more detail, but this isn't a bike review. This is about living with a cargo bike as a daily rider. And the first thing you have to contend with when hopping on one of these bikes is learning how to ride, because they are obviously a bit different than a traditional bicycle.
We get lots of people who see big bikes like the Urban Arrow or these, Riese and Muller box bikes, and they go, I could never ride that. And what I always tell people is everyone can ride it, right? You just have to want to try, and you have to be patient with yourself.
It has been a little while since I've ridden a cargo bike. I think I've only tried it twice, and the last time was about 2 years ago, I think. So I know that getting used to riding these is a bit weird, and the first lesson you learn before you get on is to probably not look at the front wheel when you're moving. Let's give it a shot. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Okay. Okay, not too bad. The first thing I notice is the exaggerated turning, even the slightest turn of the handlebars. It feels like the bike really wants to head left or right, but it feels good. It feels really comfortable. And the e-assist is always so nice.
It's always a bit weird at first, but after about 15 minutes of timidly rolling along the Arbutus Greenway, I felt comfortable enough to hit the seawall.
So I've been riding now for, I don't know, maybe half an hour, and the weirdness that I began with is now gone. It feels relatively normal. The bike's turning radius is quite large. You're not doing any tight U-turns on this thing, but overall, it feels pretty natural. You just get used to it. But before, when I turned, it felt weird, like the bike was about to lurch over and turn too much on me. Now it just feels normal. I can slalom comfortably. This is great. This thing's got some juice in it too. Got it on auto right now and quickly get up to 30 kilometers an hour. But the thing that surprised me is just how quickly it feels normal.
And the most surprising thing wasn't how quickly it felt normal, but how weird it felt to get back on my regular bike after this week was over. I'm sure it's not the same, but if you've ever seen that brain bike where you have to turn left to go right and vice versa, it's something like that where you're rewiring your brain, which I'm sure would become easy to swap between the two if you rode them regularly. But that shift back to my regular bike was quite jarring. But from that first ride onward, I rode this bike everywhere. Anytime I would have used my bike or a scooter to get somewhere, I used this guy instead. The only real quirk was the wide turning radius, but after a bit of riding, it felt pretty normal, except for the fact that this is an e-bike.
The thing I'm loving about this e-bike, and the fact that it eliminates hills, we know that it does that, but just the mentality of riding around completely changes. When you're on an acoustic bike in a city like Vancouver, you're often thinking about the hills, each direction you could take, and the hills will factor into that. And to a degree, on an e-bike, that doesn't change completely. You still think about it, but you feel like you can just conquer any of them, no problem. You really worry about it a lot less.
This is one piece that has led to the recent explosion in bicycle use. It gives you the ability to get to where you need to go a little quicker, and that leads to people riding further and more often while still getting exercise. And in this case, carry extra cargo. It's no surprise the majority of new bike sales in the Netherlands are e-bikes.
You know, there needs to be like a cargo bike community. You know how like Jeep drivers wave at each other when they're crossing paths? We need this for cargo bikes. I'm making it a thing.
And it didn't take too long for me to give it a shot.
We gotta do it. This is the first time I give it a try. Little cargo bike wave. See if it works. We got a nod. We got a nod. All right. That's step one.
After finding the ride to be perfectly usable for any trip a traditional bike would typically do, figuring out the storage situation can be a bit of a hassle. My building has a bike locker, and if this were my bike, I would leave it down there, but considering this isn't mine, I was able to bring it into my apartment for the week. And yes, this bike does fit in an elevator, at least the more spacious ones. As for leaving it outside, well, that cafe lock and chain comes in handy. While you wouldn't want to leave it overnight, it is perfectly capable for a few hours. I have heard of some people like Maddie Novich, aka Cargo Bike Mom, leaving hers in the streets of New York City just covered with a tarp. And this is one of the only issues I really had with the bike, that it's a bit of a pain to store when compared to a regular bike, which is to be expected. The only other issue I had was the battery popping out mid-ride, but that turned out to just be a simple case of user error. You gotta make sure you hear the click when you pop the battery back in. At this point, I was comfortable riding empty and with small loads like a tripod and a bag or picking up a stepladder from the hardware store. Nothing too heavy, just single trips. But this specific bike offers an ability rarely seen on any other.
So this is a lesson in chain tripping. What this bike allows you to do is at least probably leave some less valuable items in the bike while you go off to the next store to pick up a few other things. You know, I'm not going to leave some super expensive item inside this. It's not bulletproof. People are going to be able to get in. But if I'm stopping off to get some groceries, then heading off to say, I don't know, pick up a rug, I don't see why not.
While the knickknack, pans, and rug was a decent enough load, it wasn't heavy, just something that would have been very awkward on a standard bike. I needed to really go for it.
And so the cool part is you can load them right up to that weight capacity and they're going to ride consistently all the time. You know, I have often just pushed my shopping cart of paper bags to the front of my box bike and dumped them all in, because it's just like, you don't always have the pannier or the backpack or the special strap or the things you need to like always bike everywhere. And box bikes kind of just make that, the ability to have that more convenient.
So to test that convenience, I went to a local grocery store with a friend and picked up what we thought would fill this up to its maximum rated load.
So we picked up the goods. There's a ton of crap. We got 3 dozen cans of pop. We got 12 cans of soup. We got eggs. We got sausage. We got crackers. I got potatoes. I got, what else? Apples, carrots. There's so much crap here.
And all that crap turned out to fit quite nicely in the box and panniers.
Now, I'm pretty surprised it's the first try with this loaded. I think it's close to the maximum of 80 kilos that's allowed in the front. I got full panniers on the back, and I have a backpack that's pretty much full of all my camera stuff. And honestly, you could feel it, but it doesn't feel like off-centered, off-kiltered like you might find when you have a regular bicycle just with filled heavy panniers on the back. It's stable.
After crunching the numbers, we had loaded the front with over 50 kilos and the back with 10. Still only 60% of the rated capacity. I kind of wish we calculated the weight before checkout. But either way, I suspect the ride wouldn't change much after adding another 40 kilos between the box and the panniers. And to put it simply, this bike is capable of hauling a shopping cart full of groceries, which is quite impressive considering that this is a compact box bike. The Urban Arrow, for example, with a more voluminous box, can carry up to 125 kilos in the front. That's a lot of stuff. And when Friday comes along, you might want to head out on a date with your partner, which is where the seat comes in handy, turning this into a perfect vehicle to head to a restaurant that might be just out of reach on foot. Or even on Monday morning, you can easily fit 2 kids in here for the school run. I had an excellent time using this bike for my daily rider. It rode great, the cargo space came in handy when I needed it, and I really didn't have trouble storing it. And while I was sad to say goodbye at the end of this week, I did have to ask, is this bike for me? And the answer is yes, but not right now. I can easily see myself riding this bike daily, but I don't yet have the regular need to haul enough stuff to justify a box bike, though I suspect that day is coming very soon. So who is this for, and what makes the difference from this being a fun novelty to an actual life changer?
There's a bunch of things that happen, but the first thing is all the like really annoying drudgery of like family life, which is like dragging kids out the door, throwing them in a car, and then having like the most miserable time of your life to get to where you're going, goes away. The kids and I would get on the cargo bike, and by the time we're at school, everyone's having a great time. We're outside, we're singing, we're enjoying the scenery, we're talking about what we see, we're just whizzing by on bike lanes, we're not sitting in traffic. And so by the time the kids get dropped off and I got dropped off, we were all cool and happy. We just tell people you have more fun. And that more fun piece just kind of works its way into your life and you don't even realize it, because you're like, you walk out the door and you go, yeah, of course I'm going to bike. And then you just have a good time on the way to doing something, the drudgery of like errand running.
Of course, it's a family vehicle, which in many cases is a legitimate car replacement, but it's not just for the folks with kids.
The number of people that walk through my door and look at these bikes and go, oh, cool, well, I don't have kids. And you go, well, you don't need kids to want to carry cargo. It's kind of like saying, like, looking in somebody's car and looking at the back seat and being like, oh, I don't have kids. And you're like, nobody buys a 2-seater car anymore. Because we all know that it's like, we want the ability to carry stuff when we want to carry it. And that's really what cargo bikes do.
If I could just get on my soapbox for 1 second, if you can, stop buying crap from Amazon. I don't want to go in this whole diatribe, but they drive up prices and strip away business from brick and mortar shops in your community. And when that happens, you lose a valuable local resource. It's a reliable place to get your bike fixed or test out a cargo bike for the first time. Local shops that offer quality rides and service like Bishop's are integral to the growth of a healthy cycling culture.
I told people that even if our business wasn't successful, if we could turn Victoria into that weird place where people ride all those weird bikes, that was a success for me. You know, I want people to walk the streets where our shop is and see cargo bikes every time they look in the bike lane. Everyone we've sold a cargo bike to has seen what it can do for their family. The number of people that come in and say, thank you, that thing I bought changed my life, is like very, very high. We hear that all the time, to the point where you're almost desensitized to it. You're like, yeah, I get it. Of course it changed your life. Like, why wouldn't it? But to be in a business that can do that has been really, really rewarding, to be able to sell products that actually do change people's lives for the better.
If you live in Metro Vancouver or Victoria, go stop by and check out what they have, or wherever you are. Support your friendly local bike shop.
There you go. That's how you carry